Okay, so this is what I have been working on. I've got this 3D model of the Gigapony. Let me go ahead and hide this body here, the front end, so I'll hide the engine too. So basically what I did, I actually found the um, body dimension diagrams, all the technical drawings for Chevy Silverados. And what I did was I found the frame, I modeled the frame, and then what I did was I basically copied what I did in real life in that frame modification video. So I I took out this second S curve, if you want to call it that, and then I added about 14 inches to the rear end on both sides. So this frame in the model is pretty accurate to what is in my garage right now. The other thing I did was I went ahead and I cut the frame and gave it an 8-degree rake. Okay, you can see there's wedges in here. Okay, so I gave it its 8-degree rake, and now if we look at it from this way, that's a pretty accurate depiction of its final kind of height and rake, everything. Also, with the wheels and tires, so those 46-inch tires I got, I did a lot of research on them, and looking up people putting 46-inch military tires on Silverado trucks and Fords and Dodge and whatever, and the consensus was basically don't do it unless you have heavy duty, like 1-ton axles and super heavy duty brakes and everything. And I agree with them because that's a lot of weight you're spinning. It's a lot of stress you're putting on the rear end, on the differential, the gears, the drive shaft, the transmission, everything. So I opted for 40-inch tires in the rear, which I got a pair of 40-inch tires with a lot of tread on them for only $100, and 33s on the front. And the reason I went with 33s on the front is because that's what I found behind a tire shop that they said I could go rummage through their tires. So I found a pair of 33s for free with a ton of tread left on them. And the wheels are 20s, 20 by 8.5. You can see kind of I modeled the tires to be representative of what they are in real life. So there's a bit of tire sidewalls, poking out, I guess, because it's a 20 by 8.5 wheel front and back, and then the rear tire I think is 15.5 wide. The front tire is a 305, I believe. So, yeah, I guess cutting it close, but it works. It holds air. The beads sealed just fine. I put balancing beads in each wheel, so all the wheels and tires, they're ready to go. And I've actually got the rear wheels on the rear end with all new brakes and spacers and everything. And if you look, you can see that the wheel is not set on the hub or on the axle. That's because there's a 2-inch gap here to represent a 2-inch spacer. So the reason I wanted to do this 3D model, the big reason, is for the rear suspension, one, and two, knowing where the body is going to sit along the frame and what I can expect. So you can see down in here on the rear end, I've got a shock tower, which normally is the kind that actually welds onto an axle tube and the shock part is going down on the backside. Well, what I'm going to do is get one of those parts, which I already have on in my shop on the bench, cut it so it's flat, and weld it to this little perch right here, because that would be a perfect spot to put a coil over. All right. So I got that. These parts right here, these are actually from a company called Barnes 4-wheel drive. I found that they have a bunch of different styled and different sized link brackets and whatnot. So I found these. I think they're going to work pretty well. And basically, where these brackets uncut should have went down here, these are going to go. And then from these brackets on the bottom that I was just showing you, I'm going to run a link from it forward to this frame mounted link bracket, and I'll probably beef these brackets up once I get them on. You know, add a gusset, triangular gusset in here, and maybe do more metal like on the top here, something like that. And then on the top, these little brackets are also from Barnes 4-wheel drive right here. They're a 1/4 inch thick. They're, I think, 2 inches from center of the hole to here. And what I'm going to do, obviously this is a very crude representation of the pumpkin on that rear end, but the plan is weld a flat plate to the top of it, and then I can weld my brackets to that plate. And then I can run links from here to the inner frame, and again on the other side here to the inner frame. Okay, and that will give me my triangulated 4-link. All right. Now the reason I wanted to get the body on there is because on the Gigahorse, the rear wheels are actually centered under the rear wheel, you know, cutouts or whatever you want to call it. The rear wheel wells. That's it. The rear wheel wells. So I wanted to get the body in place and then put the axle where it needed to be, to where it was under the wheel well. And then I can work on my 4-link stuff and do all that. And I wanted to put the engine in there too, because again, on the real Gigahorse, the engine actually sits behind the front axle. So I've got it behind the front axle. I've got tons of room for a nice big intercooler, a nice big radiator, tons of piping, you know, intercooler piping, exhaust piping, whatever. And I have not modeled the transmission yet. I don't know if I'm actually going to model it, but whatever. So the plan is, now that I have all this, I'm going to do the front 6-inch lift, which this is representative of. And then I'm going to cut the frame and rake it up and put these wedges in there, and then put some strengthening plates on the outside and on the inside on both sides. So that'll be nice and strong. And maybe even on the bottom, put it like a flat plate, or not flat, but slightly bent plate on the bottom, just to help even more. And then I'll do all the rear suspension. I still have to order these coilovers, but they are modeled to be representative of the size of coilover that I want. I think it's 14-inch at quote ride height from eye to eye. And once the rear suspension is done and on the frame, and it's raked, and the front suspension is done, and it's let's see, and it looks like this, except with a bar here, then my plan is to put the rear of the deville on, okay, and then put the engine and transmission in, then put the front of the deville on, and just go from there. I mean, exhaust piping, turbos, intercooler piping, all that stuff can easily be made to fit around these items, but I wanted to get the big ticket items installed and ready to go. And that way, you know, obviously, like a gas tank, I can figure that out later. I'm not going to use the stock Silverado gas tank. I'll probably get like a 20-gallon, like aluminum fuel cell style gas tank, and hang it from in here, like over the drive shaft maybe. I don't know. That's stuff that can be figured out later once I have the vehicle, you know, in real life. Once I have it in this configuration and I can see exactly what I'm dealing with. So yeah, there she is. So the Gigapony exists in the digital world. It's pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited. And yeah, just wanted to give you guys an update. I've been super busy this month, also super broke this month, but I wanted to give you an update and show you that I'm not slacking. I'm actually doing stuff. So, yeah, just keep on the lookout, and it'll be running and driving one of these days. Just wait. Just wait.